Today, we're going to be talking about some of my favorite books, and we can get into some questions as well if we have some time. But I want to talk about a couple of the books that inspired me. Maybe they'll inspire you, and you can go check them out, maybe take a read, but they definitely helped me. So I want to just kind of highlight them. The first book that really changed a lot for me in business was The Slide Edge by Jeff Olson, and really just a book about working every single day, taking little steps every single day towards your goal, and really kind of about compound interest, right? Your steps are going to compound every single day. 10 pages of a book a day. Imagine after a year what that's going to do for you and your knowledge, or an hour a day working out. What's that going to do for your body, right? And so when I read that book, not only did it energize me on a business level, but I also actually lost 110 pounds after reading that book, because it really got me on my health and fitness and got me thinking about every single day, how I can get better and how a little bit of work every single day will compound. So that book was called The Slide Edge by Jeff Olson. Definitely a great read. I definitely recommend everybody reads it. That was the first book that really changed my life and actually got me into reading a lot more books as well. I wasn't reading too many books before that, but that book definitely opened up my mind. And as I said, it talks about, just read 10 pages a day of a book if you don't have much time. And over the years, it's going to compound into dozens of books with knowledge that you wouldn't have had before. And that's just taking a few extra minutes a day. Same thing with whether it's working out or getting stuff done for your business. The Slide Edge, definitely a great thing to use and take advantage of. It definitely changed my life. So I recommend that book, The Slide Edge by Jeff Olson. Definitely a great one. Now, as an entrepreneur, we have to do these things every day. We have to work on our business every day. We have to have things within our business that we say, I need to chip away at this every single day. And make sure, we write it down, have some type of checklist or organization of how we're doing things. And, we need to actually chip away and work at everything. And so the Slide Edge was definitely something that helped me stop procrastinating, because it actually gets you into the zone of, I can do this because I can break it off into smaller chunks and get it done over time. And that's not to say that's something you need to be doing with everything, but at the end of the day, it kind of puts that in perspective of like, yeah, maybe I don't have to read a whole book right now to have that knowledge and give me an extra edge in my industry and my business. But if I just read, 10 pages a day, then I'll end up have, read that book within a couple weeks. And so just, biting off something as much as you can chew, but making sure that you do it every single day. So that's really the basis of it, is a consistency, right? The compounding effect of your efforts. And he compares it a lot to compound interest. And so it's just a great book, some great examples in there. So I definitely recommend The Slide Edge by Jeff Olson. It's something that as an entrepreneur you can take, and it's actually a really quick read. So that's why I loved it too. It was actually like the book that kind of got me into reading more motivational books, more learning books, because it was pretty easy, simple read, not too long, definitely not too wordy. And so I would definitely recommend, especially if you're not too into reading books yet, I would recommend The Slide Edge by Jeff Olson. Another thing I recommend any entrepreneur doing is signing up for Kindle Unlimited on Amazon. And what Kindle Unlimited does is let you read pretty much not all, but a lot of the books on Amazon for free. It's just a monthly membership, and most books opt into Kindle Unlimited. My books are on Kindle Unlimited, to where if you have Kindle Unlimited, you can read them for free online, of course, on Kindle. And so, I would definitely recommend that for any entrepreneur, especially if you're trying to learn on your journey. And the Kindle Unlimited, excuse me, Kindle Unlimited is also great because it allows you to read any book. And so if you get into a book that you're not really feeling, goes with what you're trying to do, then you can always go check out another book. But that's one that you can check out. The Slide Edge by Jeff Olson definitely changed my life, both in business and in health. And, I'm really glad that I read it. I definitely wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't read it. And I definitely wouldn't have continued reading more business books and more motivational and self-help books if it wasn't for that book kind of easing me into it, because it's an easy read, a quick read, and it has a profound effect on you if you take those things to heart and actually do them and follow what he talks about in the book. Now, another great book that definitely changed my life, changed my business, was called Build a Business, Not a Job. Now, that book really breaks down how most quote unquote entrepreneurs are really just people who work for themselves. They have a job within their company. And this couldn't have been more true when I came across this book. It couldn't have been more true that we were doing well as a company, but when trying to grow, there's no time because we are doing everything ourselves, and we can't go on vacation, and we can't start other ventures because we are the CEO in our company, but we're really running almost everything. And so you really have a job at a company, you just happen to own it. And that's not necessarily what being an entrepreneur is. That's great. And a lot of people are doing that. But if you're really trying to be an entrepreneur, start multiple businesses, or take that business to the next level, or come up with crazy new things to do with that business, you're not going to be able to do that if you're stuck in a 24/7 job that just happens to be within a company that you own. And so, Build a Business, Not a Job was a great book because it couldn't have came at a better time for me reading it, where we were trying to expand, trying to do different things, trying to get into real estate, but it just was seemed almost impossible when not only did we have a job within our company, but we had a 24/7 job within our company. And so, Build a Business, Not a Job definitely helped me delegate a lot more than I was, and just also make me realize that concept of the fact that you're not really an entrepreneur or a business owner necessarily if you're working at a job within it, if you're trapped at a job within your company. So if you can't bring in people to delegate, if you can't open up your time to go for more big picture things or new products or new services or new industries or new companies, then you essentially become trapped within your own business. And that's something that can really hold you up. And it did with me for years. We spent a lot of time trying all kinds of stuff to get out of the box we were in. But once we realized that it was us putting us in the box by not delegating properly, not systemizing properly, and to tell you the truth, the biggest thing to take away from that book that we had to actually do as an actionable item was stop everything we were doing. Well, not stop everything we are doing, but we had to pause ourselves and say, okay, we need to take the time to put together the manuals, the trainings, the systems, and then find the people and train them on how to delegate these things. Now, that's very hard for a person to do when they're trapped inside their own company, running things and dealing with, putting fires out 24/7. And you're not really going to be able to get there if you're stuck in that mode. And so I think that's the most difficult part with people trying to get outside of being trapped as an employee in their own company, is to take the time to somehow set aside the time to do that extra work of building the trainings, the manuals, the systems, finding the people you can delegate it to, and then training them over and over on how to do it. That's the biggest reason, in my opinion, why businesses stay as one, two, three, four employees and don't grow. Right? They might be 500,000. They got 400 employees doing 500,000 a year, but they're never going to be the million, 2 million, 5 million, $10 million company that they want to become, because you can't possibly do that all alone or just with you and your co-founder or co-founders. If you are all trapped inside your business as an employee, you're never going to be able to break out of that. So I think the hardest part is setting aside the time somehow to take that extra work. And the reason why most people don't do it, and why I didn't do it at first, was because it's extra work. You have to really set aside time to say, okay, I'm going to work on something that's not necessarily bringing in income. I'm not putting out the fires that are happening all around me. I'm taking some time to build training, to build systems, and to train people on how to use those systems so that I don't have to be involved in every step of the process. I think a lot of entrepreneurs have trouble letting go. That's something that I had trouble with as well. When I was reading the book, Build a Business, Not a Job, it helped me feel more comfortable with delegating, because it has to happen or else you're going to stay stuck where you are. So that really stuck with me when I was reading that book, Build a Business, Not a Job, is, you know, you can either be scared of delegating, that somebody's not going to do something exactly how you were doing it and stay where you are, or you can take the chance to delegate it and go to the next level. So, I can almost guarantee you, if you'll stay exactly where you are if you're not willing to delegate anything to other people and train other people how to do things. Most importantly, to take the time to make the actual processes, to write them down, to make the manuals and the documents that somebody's going to need, because just training them on how to do it and then walking away and not giving them something to refer back to, can end up being a disaster as well. And it's better for you as a employer to have those things, to make sure that you're able to say, hey, this is on your job duties, it's here, it's clear, we went over it, it wasn't done. Maybe they need a write up, or maybe whatever the case is. As an actual employer that's paying people, there's laws in place that you need to follow, and you need to have written warnings and all kinds of stuff like that. If you're going to hire a different staff member, maybe let a person go, you need all this documented. So you want the outline of their job, their duties, the steps on how to do it. You want that all in documents on paper, and that way it can be referred back to by you and them in any performance reviews, or anything that doesn't get done. Hey, remember, this is on your list, let's go over it again. I also think that's one of the biggest problems with entrepreneurs and founders, is getting mad at people when they don't pick up the training as fast as we want, or they do something wrong. And even in my case, of course, learning as we go, that was the case sometimes in the beginning. And so, you have to remember, write it all down. If you don't write it all down, you can't expect somebody to follow it over and over again. Even if you trained them a bunch of times, once you leave the room or once you're not there, some of that knowledge is going to go. So you have to put it down on paper to make sure that your employee has what they need to do their job, and also make sure that you have what you need as an employer to keep them accountable for doing their job. And so I think that's the biggest reason why entrepreneurs kind of stay stuck in that box of not wanting to delegate, because A, they're scared of delegating, and B, once they do, they probably aren't doing it necessarily right with the right paperwork. That's the not fun stuff, right? Having to make the training manuals and the paperwork. But I will say, nowadays with AI, I'm sure GPT can make you a training manual for anything you want in a matter of seconds. So definitely, take advantage of that. But that book was great. It meant a lot to me. Build a Business, Not a Job. You can go on Amazon and purchase it. It's a great book. Definitely recommend it. It definitely changed my outlook. So The Slide Edge by Jeff Olson kind of got me going in a whole new direction and getting more disciplined about everything. And kind of sparked my interest in reading more books, because it was a nice, thin, easy, you know, book to read. And then after that, what really took me to the next step, once I started really going and the business was growing, then what really took the company to the next level, and me as an entrepreneur to the next level, was the book Build a Business, Not a Job, because that taught me how to essentially scale that up. So the first book, taught me how to, actually put in the work, and that allowed me to start succeeding. And then once we started succeeding, then it became, okay, how do we do the new things? How do we take it to the next level? How do we get into this sector, this business? And to be able to do that, we needed to be able to delegate. And Build a Business, Not a Job definitely helped me do that. So I definitely recommend that book to everybody. Another great book that I really like to reference a lot of times. So these three books that I'm talking about here today are the books that I kind of end up naturally referencing when I'm talking to entrepreneurs or people about business. So that's why I wanted to talk about them today. These are kind of three of the key books that I take a lot of stuff from, and I talk about a lot, and I definitely recommend them for other people. So one of the books that I recommend is called Blue Ocean Strategy. And essentially, this book is talking about opening up whole new markets that, you don't want to be in the red ocean, the bloody water. You want to be in the blue ocean, where there is no competition. And so that was a great book. Now, keep in mind, that doesn't mean that that's what you need to do. It's just a mindset on how to approach business. Not all of my businesses are, quote unquote, blue ocean strategy businesses. A lot of them are just doing what other companies are doing, but trying to do it better. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with duplicating things. Some of the richest people in the world have just duplicated other businesses, but done it a little bit better, or tweaked something, or done it with a better, name, design, culture of the company. Maybe they're just a better manager. whatever it is, there's nothing wrong with duplicating successful, businesses, business models, and stuff like that. But this is definitely a different take on it, a blue ocean where you essentially have no competitors. So instead of trying to jump into the bloody waters and trying to fight all of your competitors, you're going for that open, nice, big blue ocean where no one even is. So if you're just starting or you have your business idea right now, or maybe it's just forming, this is definitely more applicable to you. Or if you haven't started your business yet, came up with that idea yet, but you're looking into doing it, this is definitely one that you should read because it's kind of talking about that from the inception. What kind of business should I start? How should I start it? And that really, opens it up to say, what should I really be doing? What could I do that's a quote unquote blue ocean that just totally separates me apart from any would be competitors to where I don't have any competitors at all? And so, that's a great strategy. So, blue ocean strategy, definitely recommend the book, especially if you're in the early stages of your entrepreneur career, or if you want to come up with some new ideas. So maybe you're already an entrepreneur, maybe you're a founder, maybe you want to start a new business, new service, new product. That is a great book to just get your mind in that right mind frame of thinking outside the box and finding something where there is no actual competition because you're doing something so unique that competition is just not there. It's not there yet, and it maybe might not ever be able to be there because your idea is so outside of the box. Maybe it's something that you're so good at that competition isn't going to catch up for a long time because you're going to have that far of a head start on them. So again, not every idea has to be something very different. But at the end of the day, if you want to go that route and say, I want to come up with something and I want to do something where there essentially is no competitors because it's so unique, it's such a great idea, it's something that's so personal to me or something that I have such an edge in over the competition that I'm going to be in the nice open blue waters and I'm not going to be in these, red shark infested bloody waters where everyone's trying to eat each other and, only the strongest will survive and you're a brand new company dropping into that bucket. Again, nothing wrong with doing businesses everyone else is doing. Millions of people make millions of dollars doing businesses. That is not a new or unique concept. Maybe they just do it better, right? Maybe they work harder, maybe they have a better culture, maybe they're a better leader. Whatever the case is, maybe they have a better design, better marketing, better team, better co-founders. Whatever the case is, they're just doing that business better. And there's nothing wrong with that. Any type of business that's out there, you can duplicate that same model and do it better. Maybe get rid of the things that you think are wrong, bring in the things that you think are right, work harder, work smarter, all that kind of stuff. And that way you're able to succeed, even though there's a lot of people in the bloody water and the red water. That doesn't mean that you can't do it. But if you're in that mind frame of thinking, I want to just start something so revolutionary, so different, then I would definitely recommend Blue Ocean Strategy. You can buy it on Amazon as well. So those three books definitely changed my life: The Slight Edge, Blue Ocean Strategy, and the Build a Business, Not a Job. Sorry, I was blanking out there for a second. So the Blue Ocean Strategy, Build a Business, Not a Job, and The Slight Edge, I would definitely recommend those books. Those are three of the books that definitely changed my life and changed the way I look at business in general. Now I'll do a quick shameless plug of my own books, my own books, Founding Without Funding. So definitely, check that out. Obviously on Amazon, Founding Without Funding is on there, and it's on Kindle Unlimited. So again, if you have Kindle Unlimited, which I definitely recommend, you can read my books for free. Most of the books on Amazon are opted into that. Mine are. So if you have Kindle Unlimited, I believe it's $9.99 a month. And what's so great about it, like I talked about earlier, most of the books on Amazon do allow you to read it on Kindle Unlimited for free. And so there's so many books out there. I mean, $9.99 a month, you can read 100 books, right, in that month or whatever it is. So I would definitely recommend checking out Kindle Unlimited. So anyhow, shameless plug for me, my book, Founding Without Funding, out on Amazon and Kindle, paperback, and hardcover. And then I also have my first book, which was Build a Business, Not a Job. And I also have my second book, which is called Follow the Lead. So my first book, Never Had a Job, is definitely great for young entrepreneurs because it talks about just having that mindset of knowing that this is what you're going to do. And maybe you already had a job before, and that's okay. But the concept of the book was just that I was so dedicated from the beginning, from so young, that I actually never got a job. I talked in the last episode about the fact that somebody had asked a question: is it important to start young as an entrepreneur? It's not necessarily important at all, but it's great for a young entrepreneur like me when I am starting my business when I'm 15 and I still live with my parents. I can take a lot more risk than people who are grown with families and a mortgage to pay and all that kind of stuff. So if you can start young as an entrepreneur, I would definitely do that. But my first book, Never Had a Job, was really more so just about believing in the fact that you can do it, and don't necessarily need to have a job to do so. And it has a lot of great resources in there as well. So Never Had a Job by Kyle Hiersche, on Amazon, as well as my book Follow the Lead. That was my second book. So Follow the Lead really talks about sales funnels, marketing, leads, obviously. And so that book is definitely more focused on kind of things that you can practically uh, do in your company. The actual, what is a sales funnel? How do these things work? How to use a CRM? All that kind of good stuff. So Follow the Lead by Kyle Hiersche. It is on Amazon as well. And then, of course, what we're talking about here today, Founding Without Funding, really talking about how to start a business without raising capital from outside sources. Again, remember, that doesn't mean you don't have to put in your own money. That doesn't mean you can all of a sudden build a business for absolutely no cost. Maybe you could get that cost covered by your customers by selling something before you buy it. But at the end of the day, there has to be some type of capital put in to a company to, actually get it going. So, nowadays with the tools and resources we have available, you can be talking about a couple $100s to actually have a company, product, service up and running, testing it in the marketplace, all that kind of good stuff. But it's going to take some type of money. So when we say founding without funding, we don't mean that you're going to be able to start a business for absolutely no cost, absolutely free. We mean that you can do it for very minimal cost without getting outside investors. And most importantly, without waiting for investors or funding to start founding your business. Founding without funding, get in there, get it done, whatever it takes. Follow the steps that we talk about in the book, in the course, on this podcast, and for either almost free or a couple $100, 500, $1,000, you can have your business up and running, testing it in the marketplace, ads running, sales coming in, without needing to sit there and wait for an investor to try to come and make your dreams come true. Make your own dreams come true by making sales. And I've talked about a couple stories in this episode where, maybe you don't necessarily have to put the money out of your pocket, but maybe you can put together a great offering so that you can sell it before they buy it. And then you might have to come up with either little to no money out of your own pocket to start your business. So Founding Without Funding, it is on Amazon as well. And it is on Kindle Unlimited, so I definitely recommend having Kindle Unlimited to read that, and a lot of other great books on Amazon as well. It's definitely worth the membership. I've had it for a long time. It's definitely helped me be able to read a lot of great books, and I definitely don't regret the $9.99 a month for Kindle Unlimited. Opens up a great amount of knowledge and books by some amazing authors. So just to recap here for today, the three books that definitely changed my life the most in business were The Slide Edge by Jeff Olson, Build a Business, Not a Job, and Blue Ocean Strategy. And then the three books that I wrote, Never Had a Job, Follow the Lead, and Founding Without Funding. So definitely check out all of those on Amazon. Recommend them. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.